Okay, hi, I'm back. I made this yesterday out of a small Pedernellus nodule. I kind of like it. I like doing stuff like that. This is quite a challenge because when you don't use one end at all and then try and get everything else to match the part or come up, get you some configuration that you like, kind of hard to do. So let's see, I'll put that down somewhere where I hopefully won't break it. Okay, I'm gonna try and stay in camera and hit on this a little bit. And I don't even know, this hasn't been tested, so I don't even know what I'm gonna end up with on this. Let's see if I can try and stay in camera somehow. Ooh, dang. That might be a good rock. They're never as good in the middle though. I don't think I'm set up well. Rather than move the camera, I'm gonna try and move myself back a tiny bit. Maybe this will work. Try it. So this is talking about how to hit on the ends. That's near the center line. And I'm gonna support, I've got a ridge there. There's a little booger there that might make that fail. I'm support along there and I've got it jammed in the back of my hand here. And I hit about like that. So it broke there, but look how far it ran. Okay, I'm semi in love with this rock. Wow, I may have to save this. Make some killer point out of it. I'm sorry, but I can't make killer points on video. Not while I'm talking. If somebody else was filming and I just sitting there napping, I probably could. Okay, so I'm gonna try and do the same thing down here where it's jammed in my hand. Got my finger all the way along this ridge. But notice too, you gotta hit hard. That's the thing with the accuracy is that, y'all, does anybody have a truckload of this rock that they will bring me? Or I will go get it if they're within, 400 or 500 miles. Dang. So there is more thought on this. But the good part of the thought being, how do I stay below or above the center line so I'm not getting into my final point, and or how do I use the least amount of length and width to get rid of issues and get down to where I've got some kind of a biface that I can really do something with? How do I do that? Every rock's a judgment call. I knew I wasn't going to use that corner in a point. I'm not going to use this in a point, but okay, here. Cortex. I'm going to skin that cortex a little bit here and smooth it and harden it, get through it a little bit, so that, and I'm going to strike a little faster, so that when I strike, it will take that flake, because the cortex makes it an unknown. And I want to, but see, because I swung faster and harder, I get more bulb. All a trade-off. I've got to do something on this. I'm working a little slow today. I'm still not awake or something. Okay, so we're really trying to trying to sink that as well as make it run to take as much of that off as possible and stay, you know, away from the midpoint so that I don't lose. I lost it. Well, I didn't really lose any width at all on that strike, but I did lower that quite a bit. And of course, that gorgeous exterior is starting to go whitish and probably tougher. About half of Texas rocks ought to be put on a saw and cut right in half down the middle, and you can get good points out of both sides of it. That was a straight down strike. And see, not much bulb. Not much bulb, and it ran feathered out pretty well, and that's all the fingers doing the redirection. So now I got my little ridge, little hump right there. Put a little bit of pressure on that. I could put a lot of pressure. Let's try something. There's my platform. I'm gonna put pressure on here, okay? Are you with me? I caught it a little bit thin. In other words, I didn't catch quite enough of it, and because of that, I got a thin little flake that didn't have a lot of energy, but it also didn't have much strength because it's out there near the cortex. So it broke there, and I was still holding it together, so it continued to kick it down to here, but it didn't have enough strength left to sink. So once again, I have embarrassed the heck out of myself on international social media. Dang. Can't hit that one that direction. It's too much this way. I mean, I could do it, but I'm not. If I hit that down, I'm not going to get much there at all, so I'm not going to do it. I hit it back the other way along this ridge. But for good luck, I'm doing dorsal ridge abrasion. Oh yes, a little bit sketchy right in there. Y'all ready? That's too small a rock to do that on my leg like that. Freehand it. Again, look at what happened. You know, it was a little low right there. It broke right there. So, you know, there's the hinge. But here's the result of, how many times do I say all this? I mean, I say stuff too much. It's like you've forgotten everything since I last videoed, right? Just remember, most of what I say isn't because I think you don't understand. It's because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I just kind of ignored everything I've been saying to do, and went with my own experience regarding this kind of cortex and my percussor. Do I have a... and what I can get away with. And so basically, I'm going straight down because on these edges here, they're pretty steep and I don't want them to dig in. I'm just trying to get it upward, turned upward a little bit. But at the same time, I was wanting to run some, and I'm trying to stay below the imaginary center line because again, see, I still have not lost any width or length on this piece to speak of. And I've got one side almost skinned and a little bit done on the other side, and I haven't really lost anything yet. And I'm not up into my point. I haven't messed my point up. This is not good, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You're like, what am I doing? Well, that's really more of a natural platform than anything, and it's out there where that's somewhat sketchy material. I really don't have much of a ridge. I mean, I got a ridge on this side, so that limits the width of this thing fanning, but it'll probably fan to a degree. I'm gonna hit it hard and put a little bit of pressure on the face. And you're like, well, so what was the goal there? Well, I need to, I've got to lose, you know, half, 3/4 of an inch of thickness. I got to thin this thing out, and I got to do it as efficiently as possible. I didn't need to turn that edge if I can get my hit. So I don't lose width when I don't have to on a rock like this. And I had support all along here, and so it sort of fanned out and did some good. Man, I love this rock. I don't remember if there was any other rocks that I worked on camera where I actually loved the rock, but if not, you can remember this one. Hey, you love that rock. Just brought it up a little bit. It's too low, and it's actually going downward onto here, so they're gonna be really thin little flakes, but, and they're not gonna go very far. But if I can do a tiny bit of helping my conformity, my balance issue, while I'm, see, instead of just turning the edge, if I can do this number while I'm bringing the edge up, then I'm helping myself. I'm being efficient. Again, it's really low, but I'm gonna kick it up into it a little bit. And it was so thin that it broke right there instead of going to here, which is where I wanted it to go. No big deal. Just trying to sink it and do a little bit of good. And I'm working slowly and talking too much. I figure you can watch yourself hit stuff. Pulling backward, actually hitting back towards myself on that. Keeping support along there, still trying to deal with the square edge a little. And I'm gonna come at it from both directions. I just gotta work my way around to it. Still got my morning mental fog. Straight down. When you see me grab the rougher braider, it's usually because I'm trying to move the edge. And when you see me grab a finer braider, it's usually because I'm trying to strengthen the edge or cross grind the edge to make it less likely to fail. Just wanted to tiny little, I'm just making tiny little blenders to bring this up by the center line. I stay with I stay with this when I'm doing little crap like this because I like the weight. It allows me, I just barely catch it, but the extra mass of it allows me to swing slower and get my flakes to where my debitage doesn't blow up. The little flakes will run. This one's sketchy. It's hard to get in on this one. I swung a little faster and got a little bigger bulb, but this is really good rock, so it's gonna make bigger bulbs if you're not careful. But as long as you're not in where you're another thing is you don't care that much when you're nibbling around edges where you're not really going for the gusto on your next series. It's when you want to take a really great flake the next go round, or where you're getting near the end and you're trying to save width, and it really matters. This is not good. Concavity there coming up, and this kind of rounded off, so that's nowhere close to an ideal platform. So I'm not going to push in here. I'm going to push a little there, and I'm going to hit downward on that and catch it up enough to where it doesn't really matter. And see, it did break there where I said it wasn't good. That failed in part because it's cortex-y still. Fell downward more, but it went ahead and got rid of some of that. So, and it created a ridge for me where I can get rid of thickness there. So I just need to go over to Central Texas and start walking around with cash money in my hand, telling people, look, I'm desperate, man. I need a rock fix. That one I hit too straight. That was a visual thing. I hit too straight inward on it and ballooned it out. Failed and rolled out. Can you see it? Divoted. It'll fail and roll out. I've got a weird glare from the way the sun's hitting stuff right now, and I've got some other issues that messed me up. That ran down to there. The death of a million cuts. So the reason that I shouldn't really be doing what I'm just doing there, where I just go after it without abrading and without setting things up right, I really ought to be doing this with indirect some of it, because see how steep this bevel is? And that one's fairly steep, and I really haven't helped at all with the thickness. Every time you do that, every flake you take that does that on a rock like this makes it that much more difficult to get the max quality and point out of that rock that's possible. So it's better to get your support right and drive stuff inward and get much flatter angles and do some thinning with every flake possible, if you can, on a deal like this. Sometimes you got to hold those edges together pretty strongly to make them wrap and blend. Did I do anything? Well, to do justice to this rock, hitting on square edges makes no sense. But it can be done. I was trying to hit straight downward as much as possible, and catch it low and barely catch it after I, you know, had ground on it to make it put more friction on there to where it would catch it, because I'm trying to pull straight down and then my finger does the rest. And if you don't get that working right, it will kick up and you will get a hinge. So it probably isn't the best way to do things, but all right, so 20 minutes, man. Be back.